Sword Art Online Progressive Scherzo of Deep Night, I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly, is not worth watching, and let me tell you why. At least not worth watching in the theater. They might fix it for the home release, but the theatrical release is just awful. And even then, I still have many other complaints about it as well. First off, the sound mixing, whoever was in charge of sound design on this movie completely dropped the ball compared to the first one. In the first Sword Art Online Progressive area of A Starless Night, the sound was phenomenal the entire movie, but this one, something happened. I don't know what happened, but about in the middle of the movie, the sound engineers did their thing and fixed the sound. And no, this isn't just the theater that I went to. This is every copy of this movie currently out in theaters. Secondly is the animation. At the very start of the movie and a little bit before you hit the midway point, the animation is just rushed and terrible. They're like, if you don't ever animate using computers, then you might not recognize some of these things like motion tweens and looping frames, and it's just extremely lazy, and it shows. They put very little effort into the start of the movie, though the animation does drastically improve as time goes on. Alright, so the rest of this video will contain spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then stop listening now, because I'm going to tell you the plot, a bunch of stupid, goofy mishaps with just the pacing, and a lot of other mistakes. They rushed the hell out of this one. So the movie starts with two guilds complaining to each other about who's doing what, and blah blah blah, guild drama for MMORPGs. This is pretty typical stuff. Kirito and Asuna eat dinner together. They have a dessert that gives them a food buff, which lets them see trinkets and treasures on the ground. So there's these little relic coins, and once they have the food buff, they can see it. So they decide to go into a catacomb so that they can get more treasure. Asuna falls into a ground trap and goes through this bit where she loses her weapon for a little while. But she finds a note on the ground that has some coordinates scribbled in a time for a meeting. She eavesdrops two Laughing Coffin members, which the audience doesn't know that that's what they are yet, or they may not be called that yet, but that's exactly what they are. They're player killers, PKers, murderers, serial killers, who are planning to try to pit the guilds against each other. Asuna and also Kirito overhear this, and then, some hijinks happens, and then they have a little guild meeting with the guilds, and they decide the reason why they're fighting is because the floor boss that they're on drops this guild flag banner buff. And they're afraid that if one guild gets the flag, that the other one will just die, and then no progress will be made. And for the betterment of the server, they agree that Asuna and Kirito should get the guild banner so that the guilds don't fight each other over it. And that's the plot. But here's where the stupid part begins. There's a few things. Before Kirito and Asuna go into the catacombs, they've amassed a giant pile of these relic coins and jewels and gems and crap. And when they go into the catacombs, they just leave it on the ground like it's worthless. They literally just leave a mountain of treasure on the ground. Someone in the theater actually shouted out in anger at this scene. They were like, "Why the hell are they leaving the loot behind?" And then everyone laughed because it's true. It's completely stupid. Like, who the hell animated that? There was no context that they would just leave the loot behind. I mean, yes, they're going into a catacomb, they can get more loot, but there's not a storage issue in Sword Art Online's game mechanics. There's no reason they can't just put the loot in their inventory and move on. They literally just spent like a whole evening gathering this big pile of coins, and they just leave it in front of the catacombs. They just leave it on the ground. And you may be thinking, well, who's going to complain about that? Why are you complaining about that? It's just like one little tidbit of like a mistake or something, and I'm going to complain about it. No one plays MMORPGs like that. No one does that. Even if it was a real life situation, people aren't going to do that. That is just not how it works. It's just completely freaking stupid. It's like someone that's working in the animation studio or the scriptwriter, I don't know, but someone hates their damn job, and they're trying to make this project terrible. Secondly is, during the guild meeting, Kirito and Asuna do not tell the guilds, hey, we overheard some player killers that are trying to get you guys to, hate each other. What the hell? They keep it to themselves? There's no reason they can't just tell them in private, hey, these player killers are trying to get you to wage war against one another so that they can swoop in and kill everybody. It's so dumb that they just keep this. It's so stupid. It's so really, really stupid. And of course, there's a fan service scene where Asuna and a character named Argo are in a bath, and they have a little mock battle, and they make a big deal about this Argo character, which is not in the original animes. She's in the mangas and stuff. I don't read that stuff. I just watch the mainstream, animes. But Argo is an info broker, which is someone who sells information about raids and other information that they're just greedy little information sellers, like, right? And like, YouTube didn't exist in this universe, so you can't just go get free MMORPG information, I guess. But regardless, they make a big deal about this Argo character being able to run 4 steps on water, on the surface of water. And it's never used in the rest of the movie. Like, they just forgot. Like, most movies, when they, like, put a plot point or an important thing out there, they just realize, you know, that, hey, we're going to use this later. We spent all this time building this thing up, and they just didn't use it at all. It's really stupid. And this one brings back the new character, Mito, which is the purple-haired girl with the scythe weapon. They get her back, and then they have this big deal where she crafts Asuna a replacement necklace that gives her paralyze and poison resistance, but the characters act like it's no big deal. It's just like a trash piece of item, and then it's just, you know, like an heirloom. Oh, I'm going to keep it, you know, I'm going to equip it just because I like you so much as a friend. All right. It's really stupid. And then towards the end of the movie, it never really technically gets used. But then Kirito sees the amulet, and he was like, "Whoa, this is a really powerful amulet! Oh my god!" It's like, is it a crappy piece of gear, or is it like a legendary piece of gear? You can't just flip flop it. It's like, if it's a low-level piece of crafting gear, why would Kirito freak out about it? He's literally, like, the most knowledgeable character that plays the game. He was an alpha, beta tester, whatever. I mean, come on. Why would he flip out about paralyze and poison resistance when the other characters think it's just garbage? Also, in these scenes with Argo and Asuna, Argo points out that Kirito likes her and blah, 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 and stuff. But the thing is none of these scenes are impactful or powerful at all, because this is just a kind of a remake-ish for events that have already transpired. So everyone that's watched the show knows that Kirito and Asuna are a couple. It's not like, oh, it's just like, oh yeah, haha, no, duh, like, come on now. So their plan is they're going to get a bunch of strong characters together and go kill the raid boss before the guilds get a chance to, and which is what they end up doing. And of course, you know, Asuna goes to Mito to recruit her. They duel to show that Asuna's no longer weak. She loses the duel, and then Mito is like, yeah, well, I'm not going, whatever. And then Kirito's lurking in, you know, the shadows, you know, being a creep, and he's like, I'm not a creep, which, interesting part of the movie. But anyway, and then Mito doesn't like Kirito. Like, who gives a shit what Mito likes or doesn't like? She wasn't even in the originals. This is some sort of weird alternate dimension version of Sword Art Online anyway. Now, one thing I want to point out is, when they originally go to the catacombs, Kirito and Asuna, it shows when they leave the safe zone to go into a full PvP, full loot zone, and it shows on the UI where their health bar is, the screen that shows your health and status effects and buffs and debuffs and all that. It shows that they are in leaving a safe zone, right? So the UI, you know, has a notification, hey, you're in a dangerous full loot zone, right? And this is important for later. Also, very early on, Asuna gets really pissed at Kirito and punches him, but they're in a safe zone, so it does no damage. Like, nothing happens. And it's just showing you the game mechanics in case you forgot. If you attack a player in a safe zone, nothing happens. They don't feel pain. You can maybe push them around a bit, but it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't take their HP away. It doesn't break their gear. All right, let's talk the soundtrack real quick. There's a few big hitters, but most of the soundtrack is just the same song remixed over and over and over again. But there's a few like weird 8-bit gamey tracks that are just awful and do not belong in the movie at all. Otherwise, it's a solid soundtrack. So the best part of the movie is the raid boss fight, okay? So Argo and Kirito go to check out the boss room, and then, you know, some things have changed, and the boss mechanics are really cool. If there was an MMORPG with these boss mechanics, especially a VR one, I think it would be a really fun boss to fight. Of course, not if your life depended on it, but in just a regular MMORPG, it would be a really interesting raid boss that would kill a lot of newbies, and it would just be really fun. I'll explain. So the raid boss is a giant golem, which is kind of like the entire room, it's really, really artistic here. Like, this is where the 3D CGI stuff comes out. Some people hate that in anime. I don't really mind it that much, but it is kind of a CGI fight. And the way it works is there's a bunch of these lines on the ground that kind of like move over time. They move rather quickly. And if you step on one of the lines, the boss will attack with like a punch from the ceiling or its foot. And this is a giant like golem boss, like raid boss, really, really big, really, you know, massive. So the way it works is on phase 1, you have to step on the lines so that the arms and legs, you know, come out of the ceiling or the ground. If you stand in the area of effect of the hands, it'll grab the player and squeeze them to death unless another player attacks them enough to free them. No one gets hit by the feet, but when the feet land, it sends out an area of effect green cloud that you have to jump over. So if you've never played an MMORPG, which I don't know why you're watching my channel if you haven't, I'm an MMORPG channel mainly, but essentially it's like a boss that multiple players in a game would have to fight. And there's mechanics to win the fight. Anyway, so once you've DPS the boss to 50% health, things get a little weird and wacky. Like there's a head that pops out of the ceiling. You have to attack the arms and legs still, and sometimes the head pops out from the ground. And at this point, a few characters get stuck in its mouth, and it's going to like bite them to death. But Mito shows up to save the day. Oh, the purple-haired, scythe chick. And she pries the mouth somewhat open with her scythe, and then the other characters are trying to find the weak point because there's this like rune on its forehead. But the way it works is the characters have to now trigger. They have to step on the lines to summon the arms and feet, and then randomly on the limbs is a moving weakness point. So they attack it down to, I think, maybe 25%, like 2 life bars out of 6. I'm not really sure what exactly that is. That's 1/3, 33% life, which then the entire golem comes out from the roof and the real fight begins, where it's just a giant golem swinging around the room. They have to have the tanks block the attacks. It shoots eye lasers. It has a weakness on its forehead, which is hard to reach, so they have to run up the arms, like Shadow of the Colossus style, to fight it. And, of course, they DPS it down. But here's the thing, right? Okay, so the game mechanic has always been whoever gets the last finishing blow attack of the boss gets the drop. That is how it's always been. They even mention it in the movie, that, when the guilds are complaining about each other at the start, that, oh, they just want to rush it and get the last hit, blah, 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 blah. And Kirito and Asuna always kill steal and get the loot anyway. That's just how it works. So in this one, Kirito and Asuna get the last hit on this boss so that they can get the guild banner buff weapon. But for some reason, Mito gets it, and in the movie, it shows Mito did not get the last hit. She doesn't have damage over time or dots or poisons or anything like that that would finish the boss off. And it's a golem. It doesn't bleed. That's a basic game mechanic. Anyway, and like Mito had hit it, and then she withdrew, and then Asuna and Kirito just go ham and finish it off. That's what it shows. So Kirito and Asuna are the last hits of the fight. So it either implies that Mito ran over and just kicked him in the shin, or poked his toe on, get that last HP hit, which it does not show anything like that. It literally implies that Kirito and Asuna finished it off. But Mito gets the drop and she hands it over to Kirito. It's just a big waste of time scene. It's just like some sort of weird self-insert. I mean, the fan base doesn't even consider these movies canon to the actual story anyway. Now, this all takes place on December 31st, so it's like New Year's Eve, and then they all go back to town to celebrate and to, have a big countdown for New Year's Day and whatnot. And during this time, Asuna and Kirito are on a tall balcony, super far from the party, and then they have to walk through this really spooky dark room to get back to the party because they want more food and drinks. And as they walk, someone from Laughing Coffin, which is not mentioned in the movie, the name is not, that guild is not formed yet. It's just a bunch of PKers that wear brown cloaks. Well, one of them gets behind them and points a knife at him. Is like, yeah, this has level 5 venom and poison, or whatever. Which level 5 doesn't sound like a lot, but in World of Warcraft that would be a level 60 quality. I don't know. I don't know the grade of poisons, but it's enough to make Kirito upset and annoyed that this guy has a poison dagger pointed at Asuna. And he's like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna walk you guys to the catacombs and we're gonna talk. And then Asuna's like, okay. And then, well, here's the thing too, right? Before that conversation, this is the big thing that pissed me off the most in the entire movie, is he's holding the knife to Asuna's back, and then Kirito's like, we're in a safe zone, you can't hurt us. And he's like, check your coordinates, the safe zone ended at the lawn out front or something. You're in the dungeon. And earlier in the movie, the UI tells you if you're in a safe zone or not, so all Kirito and Asuna have to do is open their eyes and look at the screen to see that they're in a frickin' safe zone. And why would this PKer try to lie that they're not in a safe zone? Like, does he think they're newbies? They're like the best players in the game. They would know a basic game mechanic. It's really stupid that, like, towards the end of this movie, all the game mechanics just get thrown out the window for weird plot writings of, like, it's like people wrote the last bit of this movie that don't know or watch Sword Art Online. They don't know, like, the game's rules. And so what happens is Asuna accidentally walks into the knife. Kirito sees that it's a safe zone, and the little warning pops up that, you know, the knife guy can't hurt him. And then Asuna calls out for Kirito to attack him, which, what is that going to do? They're in a safe zone. Even though he's trying to poke her, in a safe zone, deals no damage. What good is Kirito going to do to swing on him in a safe zone? Of course he does. You know, he tries to attack him, and they make this big show about how evasive he is, and then he throws down a smoke bomb and, you know, laughs at him and disappears. And it's like, bro, why are you smoke bombing in a safe zone? Just leave. Why are you swinging at this PKer in a safe zone? Just laugh at him and call him a noob. You can't, like, what? Who writes this? Do these people not play MMORPGs? I know the main guy that started the whole thing was a huge MMORPG fan, but, like, all the people that took over, do they not play video games or something? Also, there's no epilogue, there's no cliffhanger, and of course we know what happens in the grand scheme of things, you know, because the anime was back in 2012 and it's 2023 now. But the point is that there's, like, no closure to anything. It's just, oh, the PKer was trolling Lamau, and then he you know, leaves, and then it's just assumed they go to the party and continue eating food and drinking, and that's that. Roll credits. Oh, and another thing too is I don't know the entirety of game mechanics, but at the very, very start of the movie, it's showing the previous floor boss, how they conquered it. And I guess they're allowed to open the boss door during the fight, because the boss casts a giant tidal wave attack, and Kirito just sends a DM to someone behind the door, which is Argo, and then she just opens the door so all the water flows out instead of filling up the battle arena. It's really silly. It's like, what? And the water wasn't even hurting anybody. It was just kind of washing people around. And like this unicorn creature was not lightning imbued or anything. It's just it looked like a really easy fight, to be honest, that they overgeared for anyway. But I don't. The sound was all scuffed up at the start, and it's not just the theater I was at. Like I said, it's every version of this movie shown everywhere. I of course I don't know if Japan, you know, has a special copy or not, because I don't live in Japan. I'm not gonna fly to Japan for a movie. I thought about it. I'm glad I didn't, but man. But yeah, that's my review of Sword Art Online Progressive Scherzo of Deep Night. I think that's the name. It's not the Scherzo of whatever the hell. Like, why would they use the same word in, like, there's a new one that also has Scherzo in the title, and that's just going to be really confusing and stupid. From a marketing standpoint, that is a really bad decision. But hopefully the home release fixes the sound issues at the start. They're not going to fix the animation, I'm sure. Otherwise, very boring and forgettable movie, not worth a theater ticket price. I think I paid $14 to see it, and that is way too much money, especially for me, because I don't really have a job, and I shouldn't be spending money like that. Which I don't. I actually haven't been to a movie theater in 2 years, and I wish I didn't go tonight. But the only reason I went and saw it is because, for some reason, it takes so long for the home releases to hit. The last Sword Art Online Progressive took 2 years to come to DVD. And if you're just here for the review, well, that's it. The rest of this video, I'm just going to talk to my subscribers a little bit, because I'm going to be real. Only 4% of my subscribers are going to click and watch this, usually the hardcore ones that really enjoy me and watch all of my content. Thank you guys so much. The rest of y'all, if you discovered this through the algorithm, let me know in the comments, because I'm not really an anime review discussion channel, so I don't think the algorithm really cares, and probably won't send it out to many people. But I just want to ask my subscribers just some basic things, like when they go to movie theaters, when you go to movie theaters, here's the thing, right? I tend to go to movie theaters by myself, because I'm not going to drag my girlfriend to an anime that she doesn't care about. It'd be like if she dragged me to a chick flick. It's like, why am I going to the movies? But the point is, well, I just want to know, whenever you go to a theater by yourself, assuming you don't have friends to go with or family to go with, and you look around and you see large groups of people, do you feel anger? Do you feel hate Do you feel upset? Like, why do they have friends and I don't? Because I honestly feel that way. I feel it like when I go to a movie theater, I never go to movie theaters, but when I do, because I have no choice, because there's no other way to watch the damn show, I'm just filled with hatred. Like, I go to the theater and I sit there in the corner at the top in the back, and I look out at all the other people, and they go with groups of like 5 people, groups of 7, groups of 8. It's like even like a group of 3. Just, it's like, okay, I'm a solo player in MMORPGs, I get that, but it's like, why am I the only guy by myself at theaters? Why am I the only one that's just sitting there by myself? Is it because of my tolerance? I don't want to tolerate, having people in my life that do drugs or are criminals or, are on a complete different caste than myself. So it's like, why are people just highly tolerant and I'm just not? Is that the problem? But let me know, like, if you go to theaters by yourself, do you feel these kinds of feelings? I know it's kind of awkward to talk about. It's like, who cares, right? Like, who cares what you feel, dude? But I'm just curious. I don't have anyone to ask, okay? It's not like I can go to a group of people I know and be like, hey, do you feel this way? You guys are the only ones that I really talk to. And when I say that I talk to you, I'm literally just talking to myself in a room by myself, and it's awkward. So but I do, I read every comment, you guys know that. So I'm just curious. I have to know, do you have these feelings of resentment, hatred, jealousy, envy, and other bad feelings that the media tells you that you shouldn't feel? I think they're just totally natural to feel. I think that, if my DNA and my brain is programmed to feel this way, I'm going to feel this way and not feel guilty about it, because well, it ain't my fault. What am I going to do about it, huh? Bend the knee and make friends with a bunch of druggies and gangsters? No thanks. And I've thought about, like, just trolling in these situations, I've thought about, like, just going full-blown Frank Hassel at the movie theaters and just yelling out, this movie sucks, and you're all anime weebs, and this scene was dumb, and just, people, of course, are going to be like, oh my god, get help. Oh my god, no one asked. And just seeing if I can stir up a whole bunch of, people, just make a memory, just make some memories. They can go home and tell their family, yo, there was this crazy dude at the theater, and he sounded like Swole Benji on YouTube, and he was just yelling at us for watching a movie. Like, what the heck is wrong with that guy? Because, like, what are they going to do? Kick me out of the theater that I don't go to maybe once every 3 to 4 years? What are they going to do? Put my face up on a poster and be like, don't let this guy in the theater? Like, okay, I can just grow facial hair, get a haircut, and I'm a completely different looking person. Wow. Because it would just be worth the money to just go there and just see people's reactions in real life. I'm not calling this an intrusive thought, like, oh, I'm making a sandwich and when I grab the knife, oh, violence, violence, violence. No, I'm talking like, just like, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I just take advantage of the situation and see if I can make people upset? That's what I do in video games. I might as well just Frank Hassel it in real life. Hey, you dropped your dogs. Anyway, to like the 400 people that'll watch this according to YouTube metrics, thank you so much for watching. I'm Swole Benji. As always, be bro and stay swole, and let me know what you thought. Let me know if you're gonna see this movie or not. I'm recommending that you don't. With that said, I don't want to make videos every day anymore, honestly. Like, I've got videos made up to like the 19th, for one a day, and then after that, I'm not doing one a day anymore. It's just the algorithm doesn't care, and subscribers, like 4% of my subscribers watch my content, so I'm just gotta make searchable videos, like how to farm wood in MMORPG number 7, because if I don't, I die. I'm just whatever, who cares? Thanks for watching. Donate if you want. Like anyone's gonna donate on a movie review, am I right? Anyway, right side of your screen, maybe click that video if that's still a thing. Who knows? Maybe like 10 years, that YouTube's gonna do away with that little annotation thing. Remember the old annotations on YouTube? Those are really good. I miss the old annotations because you could put text on them and stuff, and in different colored boxes, and people could click on them, and that was a lot of fun. You can make like choose your own adventure videos. I wanted to make one of those, and they took it away, and now it's harder to make. You have to use it's just really stupid. I know channels like Markiplier still do it, but like, it's just not the same. It's too much work. It ain't worth it. And the views don't, the algorithm doesn't even like those anyway, so there's no point. But I don't know, join the Discord. You know, pass that damn questionnaire. If you can't pass the questionnaire, you're too much of a norm. You're too privileged. Whatever. I don't care. Oh, bonus footage, I guess. Okay, so there was a preview before the movie that made me never want to go to a theater or watch a movie ever again. I'm not going to exactly say because YouTube is YouTube and they probably wouldn't be happy, but the movie involves a basketball team. It's like a youth basketball team. Like, it's about the coach. He's like some NBA coach, and he gets downranked into like having a crappier job. But he is forced, or he volunteers to coach certain individuals who I don't know why they're glorifying like this specific type of individual at all. It's just really weird for like Hollywood to like, this is an A-list movie, right, with A-list actors, and they're making a spectacle of something that they shouldn't. It's really shameful, and at the same time it's just disgusting. It's awful. Why would they make such a movie? It's just like, who funded this? Why are they funding this? What is the agenda behind it? It's just creepy as hell. But if you want more details, you got to join the Discord, because I'm not gonna tell you on YouTube. That's just how it is. Click the video on the right side of your screen. Help me out. Subscribe, I guess. Subscribe counts don't really matter. Once I hit 100K, I just want to quit.